Which institute you should prefer to do your PhD from? A public institute or a private institute? This is not only true for Indian context, but for global context. But since many Indian viewers have this same question, that is why I am going to focus on the Indian context. Now let me tell you, it's not about the private institute, not about the government institute. So what is it about? It is about the lab. It is about the research work. It is about the lab environment, lab funding. A good lab can exist in private or in government institute. What is a good lab? A lab that has ample amount of funding, good students, motivated seniors, helpful and enjoyable lab environment. If that lab exists in a private institute, why not? Now, there are many private institutes in India which are as good as the so-called government institutes. Just to give you some example, I know this because some of my friends are doing PhD there. So Ashoka University is one of the really good institute. Shiv Nadar University is another good institute. VIT is there. So there are many private institutes which are as good as government institutes. Now the thing is, there are two sources of funding, be it public institute or be it a government institute. There could be internal source of funding. So in the government, it comes from the ministry, for example, Department of Biotechnology or CSIR, etc. And there could be external funding that a PI has to write and they would be funded based on the project. Now, if an institute has fund, but the PI doesn't have a fund, that's a detrimental thing. That might affect your work. So when you choose an institute, look for these things. A, whether the institute has enough funding or not, whether the institute has good productivity in terms of research or not. C, whether the PI has funding or not. Lastly, the most important thing, even if it's a government institute, it doesn't have a good lab environment, that's a detrimental thing. Also, another thing to look at is basically the core facilities, whether you have common shared resources, core facilities that you need. Otherwise, you have to think about an experiment, you have to plan that experiment somewhere outside, and that's kind of time and energy consuming. So it's a wrong notion that private institutes are not as good as the government institutes. Yes, there are marvelous government institutes which are really good in terms of research, but there are many upcoming private institutes which are hiring good faculties. Indeed, there are many faculties who served in the so-called renowned government institutes are now moving to the private institutes because there are a lot of freedom, there are a lot of new opportunities in those institutes. So that is why it's good to have that. So last thing, before we end, we should think about the fellowship. Some private institute doesn't give you good fellowship. And it's also true, there are some private institute which give you more fellowship than a government institute like Shiv Nadar, like Ashoka. So basically, those institutes are good then. Check their website out, try to understand the overall idea about the PhD program and what is the inlet points. So sometimes you push yourself too much for the CSIR net and sometimes CSIR net is not required. So that is why first look for those institutes. In that same notion, I should let you know that MIT or let's say Cambridge, all of them are private institutions. Aren't they good? So that is why it's not about the institute. It is about the lab, seniors, environment and the research work. So I hope you get your answer in this video. If you like this video, give it a quick thumbs up. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. You can get more videos like this in this channel. So stay tuned for more. See you in next video.